misinformation and all the lies that they propagate. But bí a ṣe ń sọ nílẹ̀ Yorùbá, wọ́n ní ogún ọdún irọ́ tó bá ti sáré títí fún ogún ọdún, ọjọ́ tí òótọ́ bá dìde báyìí, ó máa bá lójú ọ̀nà. So let them be propagating their lies. Everybody has begun to see that these are just all liars. You know, for the avoidance of doubt. They are just all liars. One of the lies told was that I, Odole Owa N Salaye, demanded for money from the Owa when he was a candidate before selection. Of course, I did not demand for any money from anybody. And anyone that has a record that I demanded for money should bring that out and explain it to the people. I have my friends logging in from America. So, in America, then America. Ariyo, Esion, Mualo, where you can battle on a now, so part of the lies, you know, and it's very important for us to continue to talk, to debunk these lies, because I was stunned one of these days when I had a discussion with somebody whom I thought had a good grasp of things. The person being a medical doctor, an elderly person for that matter. I sat with him, and to my utmost surprise, who believe pé mo bèrè 250 million pé mo fẹ́ gba Prado Jeep. Ìgbà tó yá a sọ fún wọn pé èmi kọ́ Lékan Sàlámì lóru òun sọ. Ṣé àwọn pé kò tí ì jáde láti wá dìbọn pé òun ò sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ látọjọ́ yìí tí mo ti ń sọ. Lóru Lékan Sàlámì Fọlọ́runṣọ́. Òun ló bèrè 250 million naira àti Prado Jeep. Ó ṣe pé nìyẹn Prado Jeep. Ó fẹ́ gba Prado Jeep. Mo dẹ̀ bèrè, mo sọ fún wọn, mo ní Prado. Èló ni Prado? Mo ní kí ló tẹ̀ ń jẹ́ Prado náà? Mo bèrè mo ṣe sọ lẹ́jọ́ kan lójú kò lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ mi lọ́jọ́ yẹn. Bá kí ló ń jẹ́ Prado? Wọ́n ní Prado nìyẹn. Prado. Okay, Prado Jeep. Land Cruiser Prado Jeep. Okay. So, of course, it was obvious that as a result of his lack of education, formal education, he is unable to pronounce the word Prado. So, Parado. So, then I asked them, okay, Parado, Ilonon ta Parado, money be 100 million. 100 million, 80 to 100 million. Would they go back by 250 million? No. So, to buy 350 million. How many about the 3.5 billion? Money, any money. Any president in Nigeria, Lumbo, be governor state, Tony budget, to be my GPM, who send anybody to say, oh, Paro, Prado, just to call a dog a bad name in order to hang the dog. No, I have refused to be hung. I refused vehemently. So, and that is why I've continued to engage people, and I've continued to lay bare the facts on the table most of these things, when they were told to Mr. Governor, my very good friend, initially he believed them. It caused a lot of friction. And people now took advantage of that. You be, Governor Odole Owa. And because of that, no one continue running unabated. He continued to lie. Of course, eventually the truth became known to Mr. Governor, and he realized that most of those people, they were only playing politics with the selection of Owa, and that I was not asking for anything, and I was not the cog in the process of the selection of the current Owa, not in any way. But of course, unfortunately, àwọn mọ̀tàbú, àwọn aríjẹní ti bàjẹ́, wọ́n ti gbé gbogbo issues yẹn, wọ́n ti gbé lọ. Àwọn aríjẹní ti bàjẹ́ yẹn, some of them, I know them, some of them, my former political soulmates, bẹ́ẹ̀ mo forúkọ bò wọ́n láṣìírí, fi tí wọ́n sílẹ̀, tí mo kí mo ti pa àwọn fọ́lọ́run lọ́wọ́. But Lateef Bakare, gangan, a supposed brother, òun ló head gbogbo kìíní yẹn, and in tow was Lekan Salami, Loro. So those were the two. They now continue the lies unabated. And I was asking, excuse me, kí ni purpose tí wọ́n fi ń parọ́ mọ́ mi? Why tí wọ́n ṣe try láti paint me black níwájú bàbá Owa? Why? Of course, the information now began to make sense to me when Lateef Bakare was pronounced as the Ajiropa, and he, on his own, now altered that and decided to change the name, the nomenclature of his chieftaincy, which is the honorary chieftaincy, by the way. He decided to change it to Ajirowa. Owa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní make sense ni. Wípé okay, ọ̀gbẹ́ni yìí nǹkan tó fẹ́ ni pé ó fẹ́ jẹ́ pé òun lòun máa jírí Owa. A sọ pé wá ọ̀gbẹ́ni Lateef Bakare àbí Alhaji Lateef Bakare láti ṣẹ̀ǹbáyé láti dá ilẹ̀ Ìjẹ̀ṣà sílẹ̀. Òun ni wọ́n ti ṣe tó fi jẹ́ wípé Odole òun ló ń jírí Owa, òun ló ń rí Owa kí Owa tó sùn. Òun ni pátá Owa, òun ni singlet Owa, òun ni olórí ìwọ̀lé, òun ni chief of staff Owa, òun ni prime minister palace Owa Adimula. So before anybody tí Owa bá fẹ́ declare ogun ní ìgbà yẹn, Odole òun ni ó máa pe Loro tó jẹ́ olórí ogun Owa, tó máa rán sí Lẹ́jọ̀ká tó jẹ́ olórí ogun ìlú. Lẹ́jọ̀ká òun ni olórí ogun ìlú. Abẹ́ ẹ̀ ni Loro wà. Loro ó máa ń bá àwọn ìwọ̀lé ṣe ìpàdé because òun ni olórí ogun Owa. So Loro ni Odole máa pè wípé Owa ní kan lọ ṣígun o, ni Loro máa lọ jíṣẹ́ fún Lẹ́jọ̀ká. Lẹ́jọ̀ká á wá pe Lẹ́jọ̀fì àti gbogbo àwọn ẹlẹ́gbẹ́ ológun tó kù tán wà lábẹ́ àwọn Sọ̀rúndì, àwọn Sàwẹ̀, Sàlósí, àti bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Á pè wọ́n á wá ṣí ogun yẹn, and of course usually they win the war. So how the Ìjẹ̀ṣà traditional parliament was set up. But in this instance, you now have somebody who is outside of the traditional parliament system in the person of Lateef Bakare, who is a ceremonial chief. Mention fi jẹ́ ceremonial chief tó kò tí ì pọ́dún kan tó ti dá gbogbo system. And in the beginning, everybody saw wípé Lateef, number one, àkọ́kọ́ ṣe mítì òkè mẹ́sẹ̀. Ó wá ń jókòó tí wà ní mítì òkè mẹ́sẹ̀. Á jókòó lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ Ọwá. Everybody ń bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní wonder wípé báwo ni tọ̀gbẹ́ni ṣe jẹ́? Kí ló ń jókòó ṣe lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ Ọwá? Ó ń jókòó ń bẹ̀ mọ́ sí o, torí àwọn ìjìyà ti sọ fún wọn fẹ́ bẹ̀. Òun náà dẹ̀ tí ó fi gbọ́ tí wọ́n lẹ́nu kò ń jókòó ń bẹ̀ mọ́ sí. So nígbà yẹn á jókòó mẹ́. Everybody ń bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní sọ pé lù kí ni tọ̀gbẹ́ni gan ṣe jẹ́? Okay, so ìwọ ló wà ní ẹ̀yìn àwọn foot soldiers tó rìn bí Ọwá Ajímọ́pọ̀ ṣe jẹ Ọwá. But okay, so after tó dẹ̀ tí yẹn dẹ̀ ti ṣẹlẹ̀, so why would you now use that as an opportunity to continue to dabble in the traditional matters, even when you are not the traditional chief? And that was where somebody like me fell in his line of attack. Because one, he realized that this Odole is not going to be a pushover for him. And of course, come on, why would I be a pushover? So why would I be a pushover? So why would I be a pushover for him? So that is one. Secondly, because of the roles to assign for Arai, which happens to be the role of Odole that he wanted to be playing. So he felt that the only thing to do was to take me out of the way. And the only way he could take me out of the way was to destroy character me, to ensure we destroy character me Baba Owa to the extent that Baba Owa very me. So these were his tactics. Of course, he had tried so many other diabolical things, but that is not a discussion for public here. But he tried so many other diabolical things that so he even went to the extent, and of course, there's a petition against him now to the IG, where he said, if you don't read me, you become your. So it became that bad. It became that bad. Now, it will interest every one of us. Láti wò ó pé okay, because them náà ṣe ń béèrè question ẹ̀ nìyẹn. Wọ́n ní bàbá wa kò fẹ́ rí Odole Adébọ́lá Ọ̀rọ̀lùgbàgbé. Question ni wípé kí ni Odole Adébọ́lá Ọ̀rọ̀lùgbàgbé ṣe fún Owa Clement Adeshuyi Astro? We had, before he ascended the throne, we had only met once before. Ekon, when he visited the G6 of Agba Ijesha on behalf of G7. Àwọn mẹ́fà la attend the meeting yẹn. Ọbaala, èmi gẹ́gẹ́ bí Odole, Ẹlẹ́jọ̀ká, Lẹ́jọ̀fì, Àràpàtẹ́ àti Lóró ní Àkúrẹ́. He came with Lateef Bakare, and we had what ordinarily was a good meeting. And all of us we asked a few questions, because I think one or two questions to ask, and he answered them. Then, as far as I believed, truthfully, but it came out in the end that maybe some of them were not exactly with the way he painted them. But he answered them, and that was it. That was it. So that was the only time that I ever had met him face to face. Of course, I've always known about him. I knew about him when he was deputy governor, but I never met him one-on-one. And then after that particular day, I don't think I ever met him, except that he and I spoke on the phone a couple of times. So that was it. So you will now ask, so where does where did the dislike come from? So kí ni ó fẹ́ fa issue tó fi jẹ́ wípé because ayé sọ ní tí mò ń gbọ́ bí wọ́n sọ wípé ọwọ́ ò fẹ́ rí Odole. Kí l'Odole ṣe? But of course, Atibakari had been feeding him a lot of lies. I'm sure he still continues to do that. I'm sure he still continues to do that. He has been feeding him a lot of lies. Eventually, Odole ìrọ̀nà pamọ́ lọ́dọ̀. And of course, ordinarily, what anybody would have expected, really and truly, was to say, okay, upon ascension, the Father to all, he will call everybody so that he could bring everybody together. But of course, that was not to happen. And I'm sure that even if he had the mind to do that, Atibakari was not going to allow him to do that. He had such an overwhelming influence on him. It's unbelievable. It's so unbelievable. It's so unbelievable. But I'm sure majority of us also remember the type of influence that Elon Musk purportedly wielded over Donald J. Trump when he became president of the United States. But in the end, what happened to it? Because once it's not genuine friendship, if it was friendship that was based on personal aggrandizement, it's very obvious. We may at some point dissipate. It's natural that it's going to go the way of the fowl. So, and everybody has come to accept that. Everybody is saying that, look, the whole thing, gbogbo nǹkan tó wà ńbẹ̀, gbogbo ẹ máa ká, gbogbo aṣọ yẹn máa ká kúrò, gbogbo máa ká kúrò lójú. Ike bàbá gan fúnra wọn báyìí máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní rí things in their proper perspective. And we pray for that, because to do that is good for Ijesha land, is good for Baba Owa himself, and is good for the throne. For example, some of the mishappenings that have been happening in recent times, those things would have been avoided only if we have not had undue influence from Atibakari. A case an example, on the issue of Aladodo, I explained it in my last broadcast. For the benefit of some of us that were unable to attend that last broadcast, let me also repeat them here. Adodo is an enclave in Atakumosa. I believe Atakumosa West. I'm not sure. Either Atakumosa West or Atakumosa East, no false. But it exists under Ijesha South Traditional Council. Now, also for the benefit of majority of us, there are 3 traditional councils in Ijesha land. There is Ijesha North Traditional Council, made up of Oriadi and Ogun. It was influenced at that time by Owaloko of Iloko at that time. That creation happened under the government of Oyinlola. Then under Aregbesola, it's created Ijesha South Traditional Council, made up of Atakumosa West and Atakumosa East, leaving Ijesha Central Traditional Council headed by Baba Owa, made up of Ilesha East and Ilesha West. So there are 3 traditional councils. Adodo falls under Ijesha South Traditional Council. Now, the committee that was purportedly set up by Baba Owa, but that we all knew was set up by Lateef Bakare, overreached itself as usual. That was the committee that was under Salotun, Diso Yedele. Now, that committee was the committee that went ahead and usurped the powers of the kingmakers of Adodo. Tí wọ́n wá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní fi ara wọn ṣe kingmakers. So, in the process, wọ́n yan ọba fún Adodo. So they made their own king, and of course, this did not go down very well with the Ijesha South Traditional Council. So Ijesha South Traditional Council, in their own wisdom, also decided that they needed to make their own statement. And as a result of that, they installed their own person as Aladodo of Adodo. So that means that there are now 2 Aladodos. One by Lateef Bakare inspired committee headed by Diso Yedele, Salotun Disu, and the other one that was installed by Ijesha South Traditional Council, where you have Ogoni Ibole, who is the chairman of the Traditional Council. You have Agbadae, you have Oloja of Iboti, you have Apaula, you have quite a number of Chirimi of Ipenido, and quite a number of them. So they decided that they will not sit and watch idly by while their powers are taken away from them, from Ijesha Central Traditional Council by Lateef Bakare, just like he's doing in Ijesha Central Traditional Council. Therefore, they decided to install their own. So, Aladodo Owa. Now, I would think personally, and you know why, tí wọ́n bá allow wa láti play role wa àti function wa, àti intervene, àti pé bàbá wa, pé bàbá committee wa, àbí committee yín, tí láti yàn, ó ti go beyond territorial. Kò ní powers láti yan Aladodo, because Aladodo wà ní Traditional Council yìí. Therefore, ẹ jẹ́ ká pe àwọn tó wà ní Traditional Council yẹn, ẹ jẹ́ ká bá wọn ní dialogue, so that tó bá jẹ́ pé Aladodo tẹ̀yàn náà ni wọ́n máa adopt, à lè bá wọn sọ̀rọ̀, so that wọ́n á lè adopt it. Then of course, like in the manner of Lateef Bakare, she always feels very pompous, arrogant, and who believes in impunity. He advised wrongly. So the consequence, the direct consequence, which is an unfortunate one, is that the people from Ijesha South Traditional Council, I call it direct prompt. Nígbà tí wọ́n ti yan èèyàn kan láti Ijesha Central, even though wrongfully, and I make bold to say wrongfully because you cannot appoint somebody for in another traditional council, at least not without the knowledge of those people in the traditional council. So they was not saying wrongfully. We can mediate. But they didn't do that. Now what we now witness, sadly, so Nibe wọ́n bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní conduct ẹ̀ta ọjọ́ kẹta wọ́n bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní conduct ìje. So àwọn Ìjẹ̀ṣà South Traditional Council ń conduct ẹ̀ta tí wọ́n kó ti ọba tí wọ́n tán yàn. Àwọn tí Salodo committee náà ṣe wọ́n conduct ẹ̀ta tí wọ́n ní ọjọ́ keje. Àwọn Ìjẹ̀ṣà South Traditional Council wọ́n conduct ìje fún aládòdó tí wọ́n yàn. Ní ọjọ́ keje àwọn tí Ìjẹ̀ṣà Central náà conduct ìje fún aládòdó tí wọ́n come on now. That is wrong, very wrong. So ṣé nǹkan tá a fẹ́ sọ traditional institution wa dà ní àlèdè Ìjẹ̀ṣà ní ẹnu? Is that how these things were not allowable? They were not allowable. So why are we trying to foster that? Why are we trying to promote that? So where we have our Owa as a paramount ruler, the act of that committee, inspired by Latin, is belittling the paramountcy of our Owa, and we shouldn't allow that. We shouldn't allow that to happen. So this is just one of the many wrongs that they have perpetrated. It's not the only one. Unfortunately, we have quite a number of other cases, other similar cases like that are beginning to rear their ugly head. And what does this portend for us, both in the short, medium, and long term? It portends disunity in the land. Majority of us had hoped that after the demise of Baba Owa Romolan Okolonfon, we had hoped that it will be an opportunity for us to revitalize the Ijesha traditional system across the three traditional councils and forge unity, better unity. But unfortunately, that is not to be the case. So these are some of the things that we are witnessing that make some of us sad. But some of us have decided to stand for the truth, no matter whose ox is God. We have also decided to do it very responsibly and not bring our traditional institution to disrepute. We have decided that we will tread the path of honor and respect. And in doing so, we are holding aloft the throne of ownership and the occupant, the present occupier of the throne. And that is why you will not see me talk down on the throne or the occupier or disparage him or the throne in any way. Because the stool of Odole is that of loyalty to the throne. I have said this many times in my past broadcast, and that is what I stand for. It is being desecrated right now. It's been desecrated. Even the stool of Odole, they are trying to desecrate it. Better nigba fún wọn. Right now, being desecrated. Even the stool of Odole, they are trying to desecrate. Wọ́n ní wọn ò rí àràpàtẹ́ ṣáàtì pé méje. Ó yẹ ká ti pé méje bẹ́ẹ̀. Okay, so tí wọn bá so yẹ wọ́n wá ṣe wọ́n láti wá sọ pé ẹ fẹ́ lọ jẹ Odole mi nítorí pé ẹ̀rí Odole lórí fáìlì yín lọ́jọ́ yẹn. Ok, àwọn tó kù tẹ́ẹ̀rí lórí fáìlì yín yẹn kọ́ Ọbalá tẹ́ẹ̀rí lórí fáìlì yín, Lẹ́jọ̀ká tẹ́ẹ̀rí lórí fáìlì yín, àbí tẹ́ẹ̀rí lórí fáìlì ìjọba tíjọba claim pọ̀ rí lórí fáìlì àwọn Lẹ́jọ̀bí tíjọba claim pọ̀ rí lórí fáìlì àwọn Àràpàtẹ́ tíjọba claim pọ̀ rí lórí fáìlì àwọn àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Àtògbóni Iléṣà tíjọba náà rí lórí fáìlì àwọn. Okay, so kí lọ́dọ̀ létí ní ọ̀dọ̀ létí ló fi jẹ́ pé ọ̀dọ̀ létí ẹ̀sọ́ pé ẹ̀rí lórí fáìlì yẹn lẹ́nu tẹ́wà lọ jẹ́ ẹwà ìtọ́bẹ̀ lọ bẹ̀rù bí ìjẹ́ ọ̀dọ̀ létí kí ló dẹ̀ lè lọ fún ẹ̀rọ bẹ̀rù bí ìjẹ́ lẹ́jọ́ Lẹ́jọ̀ká kí ló dẹ̀ jẹ́ Ọbalá kí ló dẹ̀ lọ bẹ̀rù bí ìjẹ́ Lẹ́jọ̀bí kí ló dẹ̀ lọ bẹ̀rù bí ìjẹ́ Ògbóni Iléṣà. That is a pertinent question. It's legitimate. It's legitimate question. Tí kò bá ṣe kó ní nǹkan mí nínú. Now, brethren, I continue to say it here. Kò sí nǹkan kan mí nínú ẹ̀ ju Láti Bákàrè lọ. Láti Bákàrè ló wà nínú ẹ̀. So, wọ́n ti ẹ̀ mọ ọ̀nà tó máa gbé gbà. Meanwhile, gbogbo àwa tí wọ́n sọ pé wọ́n ò ní lórí fáìlì yẹn pátápátá là ń gbowó oṣù lọ́tọ̀dọ̀ ìjọba. I continue to say it. The records there were now. If you don't know what you are, everything go on me for 3 years now. Tó bá ṣe ọjọ́ mẹ́ta yìí tó dá ìgbà pé local government ṣe àrí lórí ọ̀rọ̀ issue local government tí wọ́n release funds wọn mọ́. Gbogbo wa pátápátá la gbowó August. Month wo ni ẹ. So what are we talking about? So you know it's so sad. We have to bring personal matters into issues of tradition. It's so sad. It's so sad that you are targeting somebody like me out of the whole lot. for reasons best known to you, Alhaji Lateef Bakare, for reasons best known to you, because there is no other altruistic reasons. There's no reason that anybody, there is no, when you wanted to hook up with the whole matter, when you were hooking up the whole matter, you went to go and pick some renegades in the family. Who are renegades here that is led by Odesami, Jim Odesami. There are just about 7 or 8 of them, and I can list all of them for you. Renegades. And the funniest thing was that when Alhaji Lateef Bakare started all these shenanigans, these were the people, the leaders in the family that I called. It was like, look, issues in Shelley, these are the things that are happening. That lẹ́yìn ìgbà tí wọ́n ti select Baba Owa tán on a Friday, on Sunday morning, myself and my younger brother, we left 7 a.m. to Alhaji Lateef Bakare's house in Ilesha to see him and tell him that, look, the process is over. In the course of selection process, that I may have done one thing or the other that you did not. But Alhaji, forgive me, every other thing, please forgive and forget. My brother was there as a witness. Our meta, I joke in the living room, and okay, so what else do you want? What else? And in truth, I never felt that I did any wrong to you, but I just felt that, look, and by virtue of the position that I have ascended, that you gave your modimo, therefore, so, and I went to see him. And my inclination was that after that, there will not be any rancor. And he said to me, and I will never forget it. Maybe don't worry, I will protect you. And I was wondering, protect me from what? I didn't ask him, protect me, but he said he will protect me. So I was wondering that, what will you be protecting me from? But I just kept quiet. And I don't know if by appointing or purportedly appointing another Odole is his way of protecting me. I don't know. If by lying, coming up with serious lies against me is a way of protecting me, I don't know. Or if by running me down in the presence of Baba Owa, such that Baba Owa, as it stands today, feels that I am not somebody that he wants to work with. I don't know if that was the way to protect me. But that's the unfortunate reality where we have found ourselves. So he went ahead. He engineered those people, the leaders in the family that I had sent to him, pé kán lọ bá sọ̀rọ̀. Ó kú sí wọn lábẹ́, ó kówó fún wọn. Ó sọ̀rọ̀ burúkú sí wọn nípa mi. Ó parọ́ oríṣiríṣi. Including eléyìí tí wọ́n sọ pé wọ́n fi jẹ Odole yìí o. This Odole ẹrẹ́jà máa nù. Ó ní ó bá wọn lọ. Ìgbà tí yẹn dé tán dé. Wọ́n béèrè lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ pé okay, so kí ni decision lọ́hùn? Pé ó ní bàbá Odole ẹ̀yin náà lè máa lọ síbẹ̀ tẹ́ máa lọ yanjú ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn fúnra yín. I was flabbergasted. Oyin súnmọ́ máa wo àwọn àgbàlagbà ilé àwọn oníṣẹ́. So that was all the ibẹ̀ láti mo ti mọ̀ ẹ́ pé look, these people wọ́n let me just keep quiet over that. But it was obvious. And then kúrúkúrú wọ́n bẹ̀rẹ̀ gbogbo oríṣiríṣi shenanigans wọ́n bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ìpàdé tó lù ṣèpàdé. À ń gbọ́ ilé ń lọ́bì tán, ń lọ́bì ilé ń lọ́bì tán, ń lọ́bì ilé ń lọ́bì tán, ń lọ́bì à. wọ́n lọ́bì wọ́n lọ́gbòkó wọ́n fẹ́ jọ̀dọ̀ lé wọ́n fẹ́ ṣe dé oríṣiríṣi bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe náà ṣe mọ̀ pé ibi tí ọ̀tẹ̀ bá wà tó bá yá ọjọ́ kan ọ̀tẹ̀ yẹn náà ó máa dàrú ni torí bí olè tọ́lọ àwọn olè tán pé mọ̀kàn tọ́lọ jí ẹrù gbé ìgbà tí wọ́n bá gbé ẹrù tó bá fẹ́ pín ẹrù yẹn wàhálà máa dé láàrin wọn so wàhálà yẹn ti ń dé báyìí náà láàrin wọn tí a ti ń gbọ́ tàdé tí ń mọ̀ sí but we have decided to keep quiet we continue to watch and keep our hands akimbo. So ibi tí wọ́n bá ọ̀rọ̀ wa dé nìyẹn tán bá ọ̀rọ̀ oyè wa dé Ìjẹ̀ṣà traditional parliament. It's so sad. It's so sad how low they have brought us. So sad bí wọ́n ṣe ń wọ́ throne wánlẹ̀ àti bí wọ́n ṣe ń da ojú gbogbo nǹkan rú. Like I said, kò sí bí wọ́n ṣe lè ṣe irú nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ tí ò ní ní far-reaching effect, negative far-reaching effect, and we are beginning to witness that. So we continue to call people of good conscience. Àwọn èèyàn tá a mọ̀ pé wọ́n súnmọ́ ìjọba tí wọ́n jẹ́ èèyàn dáadáa nílùú. Àwọn àbúrò mi dáadáa IBK ẹni tó bá lè reach out sí èèyàn dáadáa ni ó dẹ̀ yé dáadáa ó mọ gbogbo nǹkan tó ń lọ ó mú òótọ́ ọbẹ̀ kò dẹ̀ ń bẹ̀rù láti sọ òótọ́ torí ọjọ́ tí mo béèrè lọ́yẹ̀ tí mo sọ mo ní ṣé tí mo ẹ́bà bà níbi tó ti dúró tó ti sọ pé kọ́ máa jáwọ́ kékeré kọ́ máa ká ṣiṣẹ́ ìgéǹtì bàbá ọwọ́ àyè ni ó ní rárá mo ní kí ni nǹkan tí mo ń sọ ó ní ọ̀rọ̀ traditional ni mo ń sọ nǹkan tó sọ nìyẹn ó ní ọ̀rọ̀ traditional mo ń sọ nǹkan tí mo gbé lọ́wọ́ nìyẹn for example báyìí wọ́n ti lo ògùn oṣù báyìí títí tá a fi máa ṣe ọdún olójú wọn lè fi oyè àìyàn kankan lórí ní alẹ́ bíi Ìjẹ̀ṣà tí wọ́n bá ṣe ó wà against custom and tradition wa so and àwọn ibi tá a dúró sí nìyẹn wípé àwọn yẹn ni kẹjẹ ká ṣe ẹ jẹ́ ká uphold custom and tradition. Mo ráwọn tó sọ fún mi pé custom and tradition ó yẹ ká ti gbàgbé ẹ pé custom and tradition kò sí nǹkan tó ń jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ mọ́ this and that mo ní wẹ́ẹ́ èyí lè sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ because ẹ kì í ṣe traditional ruler èmi traditional olóyè ni mí and I swore to the oath to uphold the custom and tradition. Kò sí anybody tó wà ń bẹ̀ náà nígbà táwa tá à ń swear sí ní ẹ̀yìn ìgbàlá ní òkè mẹsẹ̀ kò sẹ́ni tó wà ń bẹ̀ o ẹni tó bá wà ń bẹ̀ nígbà tí àwa tá à ń swear traditional oath nígbà yẹn ìwọ gan wàá mọ̀ ó yẹ kéèyàn bẹ̀rù kéèyàn tó sọ pé èèyàn tẹ ojú ìṣẹ̀ṣe mọ́lẹ̀. Àwọn kan wà tí wọ́n decide láti tẹ̀ mọ́lẹ̀ láì kí àwọn for example irú ilé kan Sàlámì lóró ó tẹ̀ ẹ́ mọ́lẹ̀ anyhow bó ṣe fẹ́ ní tiẹ̀ ó tẹ̀ ẹ́ mọ́lẹ̀ anyhow bó ṣe fẹ́ àbẹ̀tì oníkálukú ló mọ nǹkan tó ń jẹ tẹ́lẹ̀ ikùn so òun lè ní nǹkan tó jókòó lé lórí bébí òkun nípa ní tèmi but èmi decide láti uphold tradition. So and if I am going to be vilified for that I am ready to bear the cross because mo mọ̀ orí òótọ́ ni mo dúró lé lórí. So kò sí anybody tó lè sọ fún mi pé wrong thing ni mo ṣe because wọ́n mọ̀ wípé the right thing nìyẹn. Wọ́n lè sọ fún mi pé kí ló dé tí mi ò ṣe wrong thing lọ. Ẹgbẹ́ mi bá ti ṣe wrong thing but I reserve right láti accept láti dúró sí di òótọ́ àbí kí n change kí n ṣe wrong thing and I chose to do the right thing and I will still do the right thing tomorrow if the same situation presents itself again. At least let it be known about me wípé Odole, somebody got lot of you as a molecule. Let it be known. So when you go back to what about me, to back in the you as a mole, I be to back in introduce a mole. I will not do it. I did not do it then, and I will not do it now. So go shit or not, believe me, yeah. That's what I hold on to steadfastly, and I will not do that under any circumstance. So that's how far we have gone today. Let's keep the questions coming. I have some people here asking some questions. Okay. What does this have in mind to do so? When he said at some point that let's move on from here and open a new chapter. Okay, I don't particularly understand what that person was saying. You know, so these are just some of the things that I have been advocating. I also advocated common our traditional councils, Konjeka create a supreme traditional council that will be made up of membership of all the three traditional councils, of which Babawa will be the paramount head. And then you will now have assistants from the presidents of the other traditional councils. So we have submitted that to, it was actually first drawn up in 1995 by Dr. Lawrence Omori Committee. He did a very, very fantastic job. I worked on that document and submitted it to the Honorable Commissioner for Chieftaincy Affairs. And I'm sure that they are looking into it so that we can see how to bring the traditional council together. Just like I have also said on this platform in the past, that what we should be advocating for really is how to bring these many people together who have gone to seek redress in the court after the selection of Owa, how to bring them together and get them in the interest of the judicial land. Láti withdraw cases one. But Latibakari, in his typical attitude, he feels that, look, they are going to crush them, they are going to defeat them, there is nothing they can do, and all what have you. I say, look, at the end of the day, even the strongest country in the world, Tony, the biggest war arsenal, will still come round after war for job. And they will always tell you in diplomacy that it is better to war to jojo than to war. So this is idea of Wehapa Bodija, Kojimi. And that is why up to today, the palace had ostracized the majority of the high chiefs, which shouldn't be so. It shouldn't be so. It shouldn't be so. But you cannot be threatening everybody with removal and then hope that you will get their full support and loyalty. You cannot keep everybody on their toes. A lot of people, now, you will not just come and then just start to belittle them, talk to them anyhow, put them on the edge, make them jittery. And then thinking or boasting that don't worry, we have the court in our hands. àpò wa ní court wà má wọrí kò sí nǹkan tó lè ṣe kò sí nǹkan tó lè ṣe court ọwọ́ wa ní court wà gbogbo àwọn nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ I don't know where all that arrogance came from as far as I'm concerned. Ẹni tó bá ń ṣe irú nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ for to me let's talk plainly, let's talk frankly. That person lacks management ability. He simply lacks management ability. So it's easier láti pe àwọn èèyàn jọ kẹ́ bá wọn jókòó kẹ́ bá wọn sọ̀rọ̀ tútù ju kẹ́ máa tẹ́tí wọn lọ kẹ́ máa post pé àpò wa ní court wà àpò wa ní ilé wà sí nǹkan tá a fẹ́ jẹ́ a fẹ́ ṣe owó ló máa jẹ kò ní jàgbádó all those gbogbo àwọn talks bẹ́ẹ̀. Let me tell you Mr. Man Alhaji Láti Bákàrè ibi tí agbára èèyàn kan pín sí ibẹ̀ nídẹ̀ nìkan ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ o ibẹ̀ nídẹ̀ nìkan ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ o. So they always think that you have the deepest pocket or the most power and therefore anything you do you get away with it. No, it doesn't work like that. Bàbá mi ayé ọgbọ́n náà fi ṣíkún èrò náà fi jà. So if you want to understand that, this one that you just look at that people and say, you are 13 years old when I bought my first car. You are 13 years old when I bought my first car. Òwe ìgbà tí wọ́n wà nínú oyún, ẹlòmíkan ti kọ́lé gogoro, wọ́n ti kọ́lé alájà mẹ́fà, ó sì wà nínú oyún gbà yẹn. So when you are now boasting, you are 13 years old when I bought my first car. So all those things, you have to go and cool down, no parallel. Alhaji Láti, no parallel. You are bringing the traditional institution into disrepute, and it is not nice. I know that I am your number one enemy right now, but that's fine. That's fine. But some of us will not allow that. We are not going to allow that. So you cannot begin to make people sit on the edge. So somebody is saying here, let them tell us the offense you have committed. Everything they've done is purely abuse of power and high impunity. Of course, when the committee started, look, the whole thing was just a funny thing. And this is part of what we are talking about. When Láti Bákàrè instigated the committee that he set up, tó wá lọ mú àwọn èèyàn nínú ilé, tó rè lóòdù wọn, tó kó tí wọn lápò, wọ́n sọ pé wọn ò fẹ́ ọ̀dọ́ lé mọ́, òkè kí ní ọ̀dọ́ lè ṣe tí wọn fi fẹ́ ọ̀dọ́ lé mọ́, ó wí tó dún tí a, tó wọ́n bẹ̀rẹ̀ oríṣiríṣi rọ́, ó gbalẹ̀ ilẹ̀ ta lọ́dọ́ nígbà, ó gbalẹ̀, kí ló tó ṣe, wọ́n ló rí bàbá wa pé kò dáhùn, ábà ẹ̀ẹ́dẹ̀bẹ̀rù Ọlọ́run, gbogbo àwọn tí wọ́n sọ bẹ́ẹ̀. When I remember that I shared my conversation with Likoti with my brother at some point, one of my brother to at the US, so they post here. He sought my permission to post it. I said, yeah, go ahead and post it. Because it's a secret. And he posted it now, where I had told him that, look, I will not be able to come on so date on October 21, but give me permission to come on October 28 because I was away on a business trip to Abuja and I was not due back until the middle of the week. And he acknowledged, he did not even respond. But I spoke with him on the phone. And he called me also. And I told him, go to the embassy, I'm only on a private jet. Timothy Lewa. So, one wà ńbẹ̀, wọ́n parọ́. So at the end of the day, Mama saw only misconduct and abuse of power. Okay, so what is that not too ambiguous? So misconduct, what type of misconduct? Abuse of power. What power? How was power abused? One details later. Only details later. Yelawa. So we just we pay ọ̀sẹ̀ kejì wọ́n ti lọ jẹ Odole. No problem. A rí àwọn kan nínú àwọn àgbà ìjẹ̀ṣà ẹgbẹ́ wa náà tí wọ́n support wọn o, tí wọ́n support wọn. Nǹkan tí mo lè sọ fún gbogbo yín ni pé tìyín náà á dé. Tìyín náà dé. Ìwé tí ẹ máa dùn wípé bóyá wọ́n ti dì pẹ̀lú ọ̀dọ́lé, wọ́n ti dì pẹ̀lú ọ̀dọ́lé, wọ́n ti dì pẹ̀lú ọ̀dọ́lé. No worry. Àwọn náà tó ń bọ̀ láti wá dì pẹ̀lú tìyín, wọ́n máa tìyín náà wá. But the difference ni wípé ibi tẹ́yìn ti ń support wọn yẹn, àwa kan ò ní gbà kan rubbish ẹ̀yìn, because tó bá rubbish yín, wọ́n rubbish institution of Àgbà Ìjẹ̀ṣà ni. That is what you don't know. That's what you don't understand. All rubbish institution of Àgbà Ìjẹ̀ṣà ni, and some of us will not stand for that. We will not allow that. We will not allow personal idiosyncrasies to take over. And that is what we are allowing to run right now. You know? So, báwo lẹ ṣe máa dé ẹ máa sọ wípé èèyàn kan láì ṣe pé bóyá ẹ jẹ́ court àbí pé ẹ jẹ́ ilé ẹjọ́ àbí pé ẹ jẹ́ ọlọ́pàá ẹ kàn máa decide ẹ máa sọ wípé èèyàn kan ó jí transformer níbo ló ti jí, kí ni evidence ẹ ní kò jí, ẹni yẹn kọ̀wé wá kó sọ fún yín pé báyìí at the worst case scenario refer him to the bigger traditional council, the Central Traditional Council. Refer his matter there, let it be treated. You now took him to a junior ní ìwọlé number 4 tó wà lábẹ́ ẹlẹ́mùtù, tó wà lábẹ́ ẹsẹ̀kùwà, tó wà lábẹ́ bájímọ́. Ìyẹn sàlọ́sọ̀ junior kó máa try senior ẹ̀. Ìbò náà ti ń ṣe yẹn. Ìbò lẹ ti ń ṣe yẹn. What type of traditional setting are we fostering in Ìjẹ̀ṣà land? No, we are not going to allow all these shenanigans. Only stand. And those who are supporting them, please take it to the bank that we said that it will not stand. We are not going to allow it. So, rather, the right way. Àwa rí nínú ara wa náà tó tún ṣe ń support wọn láti perpetrate evil. Ẹni yẹn náà kò fẹ́ kọ́ wá múdà kọjá lórí òun. Gbogbo àwọn tẹ̀lé tó support wọn yẹn. A rí nínú àwọn àgbà ìjẹ̀ṣà ẹgbẹ́ wa náà tó jẹ́ pé ọ̀lọ́ ń sáàfù lábẹ́ junior wọn. We told them, not justify it. They will give you the 10 reasons why they should serve under their junior. At the end of the day, were they not rubbished? It was going to come to that now. It was obvious it was going to come to that. So after you have served under your junior, what is there not to correct junior? Was he not saying that? Of course he was saying that to all of you. So, but we are not going to allow that because it's an anomaly. It's not something that is normal. It's not something that should be allowed. Therefore, we are saying that such things must be corrected and he should never rear his ugly head again. He should never rear his ugly head again. And we are not doing it or fighting just because of you. We are fighting because of the traditional institution of Ìjẹ̀ṣà land. And let me remind all of us, for some of us that may not know, Àgbà Ìjẹ̀ṣà was brought to Ìjẹ̀ṣà land from Ọ̀yọ́. Ọ̀yọ́mèsì, the equivalent of Ọ̀yọ́mèsì ni wọ́n wá ti ní ẹgbẹ́ Ọwádúṣẹ́ olùmúwá láti Ọ̀yọ́ Aláàfin. So ṣé bí wọ́n ṣe ń ṣe ní Ọ̀yọ́ Aláàfin nìyẹn? Tí wọ́n ṣe ń rọ̀nà ẹ̀ lọ́yọ́ Aláàfin nìyẹn níbi tá a ti mú wá? Tí wọ́n ṣe ń ṣe nìyẹn? So ẹ má jẹ́ ká gba nǹkan tí ò dáa láyé. Àdẹ̀ ní ìgbà láyé àwa kan wà. So for me personally, I have chosen to take the path of honor and lead a personal crusade, on behalf of anybody, but on behalf of my stool Odole Owa, and on behalf of the institution of Àgbà Ìjẹ̀ṣà, and on behalf of the throne of Ọwọ́ Òbòkun Àdìmúlà. Odole àtọwọ́ Òbòkun Àdìmúlà jọ délé ẹni. Odole àtọwọ́ Òbòkun Àdìmúlà jọ délé ẹni láti Ilé Ifẹ̀. Ẹ là tẹ̀lé wà ń bẹ̀ pẹ̀lú yẹn. Yẹn ní jìrù ní ọmọ rí nígbà èèyàn àjàká òun ní lẹ́mùdù bẹ́ẹ̀. Èèyàn ìgbáyẹwà gbogbo yẹn ni. lọ́jọ́ kúrò nílé Ifẹ̀ kanjọ alẹ̀ so kí ọ̀dọ́ lè ṣe àwà bẹ́ẹ̀ kálá lajúlẹ̀ kí alá máa dìbèsì tróònù ọwá kúrì àmà wòrán kó ṣe àṣẹlẹ̀ ẹ gbọ́dọ̀ ṣẹlẹ̀ bí gbogbo ráyè gan bá wà bẹ́ẹ̀ kan bá ń gbà ọ̀dọ́ lé ní nọ́mbà 1 person kẹ́ẹ̀ lè gbà ṣe nìkan kó pé ara rẹ̀ tó mú ajírọ́wà torí ìkàbó ti fi jí rọ́wá ọwá ìwò ló fi jí rí láti fi kà ẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ wàhálà máa jírí ọwá láti ilé rẹ̀ so ẹ sọ̀dọ̀ lé mọ́ lórí oyè ni kọ́ ìfi jẹ́wọ́ ìnìlá máa jírí ọwá is an anomaly. That is why that chieftaincy can never exist. It can never exist because it's an anomaly. It's an anomaly. It's an anomaly. So it does not exist. It only exists with the person. Don't polongo e káàkiri. So, and that is the reality of what we have in the Ijesha land today. So we will continue to educate ourselves. We will continue to point out the truth to us as we see those truths, and we will continue to tell them as we see them. Please permit me. Nígbà mìíràn, wọn ní ọba sọ, ó lè mú sit well dáadáa pẹ̀lú èèyàn. Méjì láti impugn lórí character anybody àbí láti bá èèyàn kankan bí àbí láti bóyàn kankan but mo ń láti máa sọ ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn rí pé ẹni wọ́n tẹnu mọ́ òun ni ẹni kan ń dá gbogbo rúgúdù sílẹ̀ ní àárín Ìjẹ̀ṣà traditional council gbogbo rẹ̀ alọ́mọ ìlà tí Bákàrè òun ló ń dá gbogbo wàhálà dẹ̀ sílẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n gbogbo rẹ̀ pátápátá yẹn á fọ́ lẹ́rán a máa gbà láàyè inú mi dùn náà bẹ́ẹ̀ o wọ́n jẹ́ pé gbogbo èèyàn àgbà Ìjẹ̀ṣà nìyẹn Ògbóni Iléṣà gbogbo rẹ̀ Ògbóni èèyàn kan wà náà kí yé lè dárúkọ torí ìrúbà kan dèrò ọkàn ìdèrúbà ṣùgbọ́n Ògbóni mọ̀kàn jírí Ògbóni tiẹ̀ sì rí Ògbóni ní tiẹ̀ Ògbóni abẹ́lẹ́jọ́ kojú àbọ̀ kojú rẹ̀ o so yẹn ni wà ń bẹ̀ kó jẹ́ pé wọ́n gba gbogbo yàn kan rádaràdà bí iye wọ́n gbà láàyè ọba odò ọkàn jèrè rẹ̀ ọgbà láàyè yẹn ni wọ́n gba gbogbo yàn rádaràdà ni wọ́n gbà láàyè ní tiwọn ara wọn ṣe ni jùsọ́nà rìn ni o ara wọn ṣe ni jùsọ́ rìn ni ẹ̀kọ́ wà gan ti kan gbà láàyè jẹ lóru èrè ní tiẹ̀ yèdè sùn yè nílé gbà ní tiẹ̀ ẹ̀kọ́ tí wọ́n yè nílé gbà ní tiẹ̀. So Lekan Salami is a disgrace to Agbo-Ijesha. I will say that openly anywhere, anyhow. Please permit me. You may not like the way I'm saying it, but that is the honest truth. That is the honest truth. He needs to change his ways. Because he's bringing the entire Agbo-Ijesha institution into disrepute by his conduct. So we all familiar. So for me, it's the only misfit. It's the only misfit, and that is why you see him going around like the head of thug for a while, like the olórí àwọn MSN. The olórí àwọn MSN. Agbo-Ijesha ní rí máa tó ń ṣe bí MSN yẹn. Tó ń ṣe bí head olórí àwọn thug ọwá. It's all nonsense. It will castigate one, don't bring back to disrepute. We are after Liverpool Ìjẹ̀ṣà land. Pátápátá lẹ́yìn ọwá àwọn àgbà Ìjẹ̀ṣà 13 lókù. We are the next. Lẹ́yìn ọwá àwọn àgbà Ìjẹ̀ṣà 13 lókù. So we should be able to conduct ourselves in the proper manners in which we are situated, not to start displaying some level of unintelligence and a brash attitude that are nonsensicals within the society. No. Yeah, anybody tó bá rí lóru kó má fi ojú ẹ̀ mú àwọn àgbà Ìjẹ̀ṣà tó kù. Mo fojú rẹ̀ mọ̀ bàálà, mo fojú rẹ̀ mọ̀ boni, ìmú fojú rẹ̀ mú ìwọ̀n àlápàtẹ́, ìmú fojú rẹ̀ mú Odole of course, ìmú fojú rẹ̀ mú lẹ́jọ̀ká or anybody else tó bá kù. It's just òun ló mọ nǹkan tó ń ṣe, òun ló mọ nǹkan tó ń wá tó fi ń behave bẹ́ẹ̀. Gbogbo totally is ìwọ̀n tí àwa gangan lójú àwọn tó kù tajà àgbà Ìjẹ̀ṣà ẹgbẹ́ ń tì wá lójú. That is the honest truth. That is the honest truth. So I'm sorry, I'm a little bit frank about that, but that is the honest truth. That's the honest truth. So please, Deba, when you see him behave the way he does, please don't think that we are all like that, because we are not all like that. I make bold to say, I speak on behalf of Father Agba Ìjẹ̀ṣà. Ipe on repeat Ìdílé kan Salami o, on lo mo ibi tó ń ti rí tiẹ̀ o. So that is the honest truth. So somebody is asking, who is Lati Bakare? Is he one of the Agba Ìjẹ̀ṣà? No.